Platform, the agenda, and today I decided to do this live special to remember and commemorate a man who lives. This is a man who lives within all of us. By all of us, I mean those who are revolutionaries, those who are progressive. Here I'm talking about the black people who are revolutionaries, people who want to do something about their conditions. I'm talking about black people who want to change their conditions of living. This is a man who inspires those people. This is the man who keeps the fire burning within those people, within those black revolutionaries who want to see change in this country. This is Chris Hani, Chris Martin Tembiside Kahani. This is the man who inspired a lot of us. He inspired a lot of us. I'll talk for myself. This is the man who inspired me when I joined the trade union movement. When I joined the trade union movement, the man inspired me. When I joined the South African Communist Party, I remember those of us who joined was around 2009, 2010. Those of us who joined the South African Communist Party, joined the ANC. We joined under the clarion call to swell the ranks. We joined under the clarion call to swell the ranks of the African National Congress. And we were inspired by the teachings of Chris Hani. We read a lot about Chris Hani. We were inspired by his bravery in confronting the brutal system of apartheid. Not only that, but the humility and the humanity that Chris Hani had, and the love that he had for the oppressed natives, for the oppressed majority, which are the natives of this land, which are black people, were inspired by his ideas and ideals for social justice. Chris Hani did not join the struggle because he wanted to live a comfortable life, leaving behind the black masses. He joined the struggle because he understood the cause and the discourse that it cannot be that we have a country which is dominated by black people in terms of the number, and those people happen to be the natives of that land. Those black people are the natives of that land, but they are the servants. They are the servants of a minority which is an invading group, a minority that invaded that particular land, a minority that invaded the land, murdered the natives, dispossessed the natives, and therefore rendering the natives into slaves, dispossessing the natives of their land, dispossessing the natives of their livestock, the cattle, therefore forcing these natives to be slaves and workers for the white masters. Because these settlers, these invaders, these uninvited guests, when they came to South Africa, when they invaded South Africa, when they dispossessed the Africans of their land, when they dispossessed the Africans of their means of production, therefore it meant one thing. It meant that black people had to now to be slaves. It meant that black people now had to find themselves in a situation where they work for these white settlers as a way of them being able to survive and take care of their own families. Because if you've taken away from these Africans their way of subsistence, their way of sustaining themselves, then you are leaving them no choice. You're leaving them no choice but to now become slaves so they can be able to feed themselves and their families. It is that context where people like Chris Hani, when they were born into that context, into that environment. And of course, talking about these settlers invading this country, it does not mean there were no resistance. Of course, there were resistance, hundreds and hundreds of resistance. But by the time when the likes of Chris Hani are born, they are born into a context whereby these settlers have become so dominant. They dominate the economy. They dominated the cultural aspect of life. Whereby now, black people have been, their cultural independence has been decimated. Their cultural, what do you call it? Their culture has been decimated. Whereby now black people are being forced now to assimilate. Those are the conditions that they were born into. You see? So they took it upon themselves, people like Chris Hani, but this cannot continue any further. This cannot continue any further. What does it mean? It means something ought to be done. It means something has to be done. So by the time he's born, already organizations such as the African National Congress, the South African Communist Party are already in existence. So they become an option, meaning such organizations, they then become what? They become an option. They become a vehicle. They become a vehicle that can be utilized. They become a vehicle that can be utilized to confront this colonial and apartheid system. Because by the way, we need to understand this. Colonialism and apartheid are one thing. You see? Apartheid is just a continuation. I see everyone who's greeting, everyone who's joining. Thank you very much for you guys who have already joined in. I see LC3D, we are greeting there saying hi. All right, greetings very much. Greetings and thank you very much for joining. So now they've got these tools. Now they've got these tools that they can make use of. They can make use of to propel the struggle for the overthrowal of this colonialism. It is in that context that the likes of Chris Hani then joined the South African Communist Party, joined the ANC, then they joined the Umkhonto weSizwe Party, not party, but Umkhonto weSizwe, the army. Greetings, Cynthia Malupe. Hello, sawubona ngani yakwethu. A new LCD3, sawubona ngani yakwethu. Thank you for joining in. So they now become active within those structures. So they understood that as the conditions were at the time, it became a must for any conscious black person, for any black person who's conscious. It became a must that you ought now to do something about the situation. You ought to look for the vehicles. By vehicles, I mean the organizations that are already in the terrain confronting the system. So he joined those organizations became active. And that was a sacrifice. This is what we all need to understand. This was a sacrifice. How many of us currently can be prepared to sacrifice all that we know, all that we have? Because he could have chosen to be a teacher or to be something else. Because there are other black people who are as educated as him. Because Chris Hani was an educated person. Educated, right? He was an educated person. He could have chosen something else and lived a comfortable life. But he understood that it cannot be that it would be a comfortable life for him and his family when he still got limitations to certain things, when he still got certain things that are only a preserve of a certain race. And he understood that it cannot be a comfortable life when he and his family might be living comfortably, but neighbors and fellow black people do not get to enjoy what he's enjoying. That's why you talk about justice for all. Going to exile and all that Chris Hani went through. As you know, today marks 32 years to the day when he was murdered. Today, the man who murdered him, Janus Swaluz, he's a free man. He's a free man, hence back to his home country. And probably living a very luxurious life. So, did we as a country, the government that came into governance in 1994, did we get the justice for Chris Hani and his family? No, we did not. Because as I say, I'm talking now, the man who murdered him, he's a free man back to his own country, giving interviews, living as a celebrity. See? So hence we will have people like Panyaza Lesuful even wear t-shirts but not kill Chris Hani again. So you leave that about Janus Swallows. Look at his organizations. What is the state of his organizations? I'm talking about Chris Hani here. The organizations that he served, he dedicated his life to. That being the African National Congress, being the South African Communist Party, and even the Umkhonto Wesizwe, the army. What is happening with those who are in the Umkhonto Wesizwe? Those who were in the trenches of Chris Hani. Some of them live in abject poverty. They are forgotten people. They are the forgotten. Some have become mentally unstable because their sacrifices have amounted to nothing for them and their families. You've got people who are today in governance who never lifted a stone. Of course, some were young, we understand. But they lack those principles. They don't understand how did this freedom and this government come about. They do not understand the sacrifices that were made. Hence, they treat even their own people of disdain. Today, go to the Department of Home Affairs. Go to any government department and see the disdain that the people, the black people who are now in government, people now who now we call the public servants, look at the disdain that they treat black people with. They treat black people with contempt. But let a white person walk in, the treatment changes completely. So we ask, is this what Chris Hani died for? That for those who look like us, who are now in government, for them to perpetuate this kind of treatment against against their own people. Look at how the black people, Look at our own black people who today find themselves owning some means of productions, especially those who we call tenderpreneurs. Look at how they treat the black people who work for them. Sometimes we've got black people, they will go for 2 months without getting their pay, working for black-owned companies. Is this what Chris Hani died for? Is this what Chris Hani sacrificed for? Was this what he was fighting against? Was this what he was fighting for? So you see, in terms of our own values, then you realize that we've lost the plot. If Chris Hani now will say, let's write a report to Chris Hani. Let us report to him that since the 10th of April 1993, when he was brutally and violently taken away from us, what is it that we have done? Can we be proud of what we have done? When we compare the good that we have done and the bad and the terrible that is happening, can we be proud of ourselves? Look at how his own organization, the African National Congress, is now championing the policies, is now championing economic policies that seeks to suppress black people even further. The value-added tax that everyone is talking about now. Will Chris Hani be proud of the ANC that we are seeing now? Look at how the members of parliament of the African National Congress, look at how they clapped in parliament. Look how they clapped in that National Assembly after the voting of that fiscal framework. They were clapping that they are going to subject black people to further impoverishment. Will Chris Hani be proud of this ANC? Where is this political party, the South African Communist Party? What has the South African Communist Party done to organize the working class? Not to organize the working class as a voting folder for the African National Congress, but to organize the working class in pursuit of the struggle for socialism. What program does the South African Communist Party have in place to pursue for the struggle for socialism? The struggle that the slogan that the SSP has, that socialism is the future, build it now. What are they doing? What are the concrete steps that the SSCP, in terms of their programs, have been engaged on as part of a program for building that socialism that they're talking about? Or it's just phrase mongering? Look at how the active role that SACP under the likes of Blade Nzimande has played in fragmenting the organized working class. And remember, when we're talking about the working class, we're not talking about the people who are employed yet. People who are employed, who are working, are just a section of the working class. The working class involves the employed and the unemployed. But look at how the SSP has actively worked to fragment that organized section of the working class in the trade unions. The NUMSA Kosatu saga. Who are the people who are at the forefront of that? It was the SACP. The SACP that claims to be a vanguard of the working class. You do not become a vanguard by proclamation. You become a vanguard by leading the struggle, by being in the trenches. But the SSP has just become a mouthpiece that defends even the butchers of the working class. His own political party, that's Chris Hani, his own political party, the SSP, has become so obsessed with the false narrative of the state capture. They claim to be Marxist, What kind of a Marxist-Leninist that does not know that at no stage can we say the state is independent? The state has always been captured. But as it becomes with this nonsensical concept of state capture, then you ask yourself the question, at what stage of the development, especially the South African context, let's even start from 1994, at what stage can we say that the state was not captured? Because the state is always captured, and the state have always understood that it is nothing but an executive for managing the common affairs of the bourgeoisie class. But when black people want to contest for that state in a meaningful way, you've got a communist party that becomes a lynching mob against those people. Will Chris Hani be proud of this SACP? They now recently going to contest for local government elections. Then you ask yourself, as important as it is to contest the local government election, because that's where the service delivery is happening. But in terms of the national framework, the policy direction, all of that, those things are done at the national level. Why are they only isolating the local government elections to contest local government elections and all of that? You see. So I'm saying we today we commemorate and remember Chris Hani under this context. That what the work that he has done is being undermined by people he called comrades, are undoing his work. I don't know about you guys. How will you guys remember Chris Hani? How best we think we should be remembering Chris Hani and honoring him and what he stood for, to ensure that himself, where he is, and his family do not feel that his contribution was in vain. Because now every data we have points to that direction, that actually what he sacrificed for, it is going down the drain right in front of our eyes. I thought I should just do this live as a way of remembering Chris Hani and his contribution that he made and the inspiration that he became to most of us. Thank you guys for tuning in, guys. Please remember to subscribe if you've not subscribed to the platform, guys. Thank you very much.